Berg, you okay?
Yes, I'm okay.
Got any Emmys coming up the pipeline? Come on.
I do have a show premiering February 12th on FX the next day on Hulu, Hip Hop Uncovered.
Oh, nice. When were you talking about that? Yeah.
Always working. Berg is always working.
It's just a story of hip hop. It's pretty pretty wide and full encompassing of the genre, based around 5 heavy hitters behind the scenes.
Nice.
That'll be dope.
That is something I will definitely watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of 5 heavy hitters behind the scenes, intro.
Yes.
Excellent segue.
Wow. Oh, yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Scouts. We have returned. The 5 are on it once again, man. I'm not good at this hosting thing. Cody, you're much more better at it. But see, that's my English, too. Cody's much more better at this. Speaking of Cody, I'm just going to introduce the guys, man. Delby Manuel's going to sponsor this, but whatever, man. We're all here. We're all repping our brands, our things, our names, man. So, Cody, I'm going to introduce our first scout. What's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Dude, I am fantastic. I'm truly just happy and excited to be here with you boys. Obviously, we have the chat that goes all year long, but it's always good just to get in front of the screen, to get some FaceTime with you boys. Love all these chats when we're able to get to do them. So I'm just excited to be here. And I will let me put up this disclaimer. We are talking about quarterbacks today, and I have no goddamn idea what I'm looking at when it comes to quarterbacks. So Dwight, if you just want to, whenever you go to edit this, if you want to put the Charlie Brown voice over top of mine every time I go to talk, that'll be just fine.
God, it's tempting. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding, man.
I've heard transparency is important in this space, so well done, Cody. Way to make it fully transparent. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I tried to dethrone Dwight on this episode to take over the hosting chair so that I could just make you guys give all the takes, but Dwight was like, no, this is my fucking show. I'm the one doing it. And he actually threatened all of us, talk about full transparency. He actually threatened us with violence. So that is why this is going on the Devi manual.
Yes, because I'm such a threatening individual. All right. Speaking of threatening individuals, our second scout, J. Mike, what's up, bud?
I'm just happy to be here. Happy that we can bring the group back together again. The second annual return of the Scouts. So I'm happy to hear. And it's always better when we get Cody's breakdown of what Scouts stands for, or Robbie, either one. They give that really well. So I'm looking forward to either of them breaking that down when their turn comes. But yeah, happy to be back at it with the quarterbacks, revamping how we do things a little bit. So yeah, I'm excited.
Right. Speaking of Robbie, can you break down Scouts for us?
It was about a year ago. We all jumped into a Vox chat together and started this up. And I feel like I had some acronym or 2 or 3 at the time. I can't remember any of them, but by the end of the night, I'm gonna dig one up and speak it to the world. So stay tuned.
Right. I think Cody just kind of made them up as he went. So.
Was it like it was a society for collegiate opinions or something?
You're there. I feel like that's on the right track.
Yeah, something along those lines. It was literally almost like you did it without even thinking, which is usually the best way you do things. So, anyway, without thinking. Anyways. All right. Robbie, introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll get down to the Emmy winner.
Yeah. Robbie Jeffries, rocking with Cody over at the Fantasy Authority. As he stated earlier, he has tried to take over host duties, a little bit lacking on the QB knowledge, and I've learned everything from him, which means I will give just as many educated takes or just as few. So, yeah, really excited to kind of chew this up with you guys. It is an interesting class, so let's see what we all have to offer.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're just here to talk this through and kind of give you guys an idea of what we think. So, all right, our next arm of Voltron, the fourth arm or whatever, arm, the leg, whoever you want to do this, Mr. David Berger. How you doing, Berg?
As long as he's not the third leg.
I'm the fourth leg. I'm a fourth leg kind of guy. If you get to know me and my personality, you're like, oh, that's like a fourth legger. Sorry, I was on mute. My child is now transitioned to bath time, so should be good to go here. Excited to be here. I've had a horrible day betting on college basketball, so to get my mind off that, let's get the wheels turning on some quarterbacks. And it's an exciting class, so let's do it.
All right, man. We'll try to take your mind off that then. Last but not least, I am Dwight, FF People's Champ on Twitter. Work with the nerds. I've been, unlike Cody, I've watched about 65 games of quarterbacks. I swear. I actually just I was waiting for you guys to come on, I was cutting down a Mac Jones game. So, sorry, man. So, I don't know. I'll try to kind of help guide things along, but I definitely want to hear what you guys see because I've had it pretty my top 6 for a little while, but people keep saying things on Twitter that make me second guess what I've seen, and I go back and watch. So I'm happy to be on and talk with you guys and see what you guys all think of these. So, all right, we'll dive right in. The top quarterback in this class, we're going to go, I don't know, this is pretty much a consensus one, although lately with all this Urban Meyer to Jacksonville talk, it seems to be like some people think that he's not the consensus quarterback. We'll go Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, the golden boy, touchdown Jesus. The stats on this guy are crazy, man. He's trying to get him up real quick here. He's threw for just over 10,000 yards in 3 years, 90 touchdowns, 17 interceptions, 6'6", 220 pounds. He's been anointed the second coming of the best quarterback prospect since Andrew Luck. I mean, there's nothing more you can say about Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I feel like he's been talked in circles. He is the 101. I don't care what anybody says. If Jacksonville does not take him, I hope J. Mike runs through the streets, burns down some stuff, because, yeah, that'd be a huge mistake by Jacksonville. So, all right, we'll start with you, Robbie. Robbie, what do you see when you see Trevor Lawrence, man? What do you like about his game?
I mean, there's not a lot to hate on. So I like a lot of his game. I think whenever you're talking about fantasy, you're looking for that dual threat quarterback, and that's just the first box that I like to check off. And not only does he have that, a couple quarterbacks have that in here, but his progression is just, I think when you saw what he did last year, you knew there had to be a drop off, and we were all kind of waiting for it. And I think his season last year was better than this year for multiple reasons. Obviously lost Justin Ross and some other talent there, but he came back and just had another unbelievable season. Doesn't turn the ball over that often. Is just poised in the pocket. So there's really not a lot to not like about him. I'd say my one knock on him is I think sometimes he kind of locks onto his receiver and he'll kind of telegraph a throw every now and then, but that's just kind of picking just little pieces of his game to improve at the next level. But yeah, man, he is just one of those guys where you kind of check it off, kind of like Andrew Luck, can move around the pocket, works through progressions, just has the arm strength, can make those deep throws in tight windows, on the sideline, across the middle, can attack a zone, just all those different things we saw throughout, especially the last 2 seasons. So yeah, that's what's not to like.
It almost seems as though with Trevor Lawrence, we had the privilege of being able to kind of watch him unfold and become the star that he is right before our eyes. It wasn't a case where we had to wait like a Mac Jones, that we had to wait for someone to get their chance. It was a case where he came on the scene, and even with all of his faults back in 2018, we still watched him continue to grow and lead a championship quality level team in Clemson. So obviously excited to be able to see him. I've got some questions. I'm curious what everyone else has to say in reference to Trevor Lawrence, because not everyone. I go with the everyone's and the nobodies. People say that he is the best prospect since Andrew Luck or since Peyton Manning or whoever, insert name of most fantastic person that you've seen play the quarterback position. What's everybody else's thoughts real quick before I attempt to poke some holes here?
I personally want to hear
man.
I want to hear the hole poking, because I kind of had the same question where it was, maybe it's just because he makes everything look so easy, but like you hear that all the time, like best prospect ever, can't miss, all this, and like I watch, like obviously he's good, and like I said, like I don't like when it comes to like breaking down actual quarterback play in terms of mechanics and reads and all that stuff, that's where, you know, like my lack of knowledge comes in. But I watch him like, oh damn, he's really good. Anticipation, arm strength, you know, all that stuff. But then like you hear all these guys talk about, you know, best prospects since whatever, and I'm like, what? All right, like cool, I guess. So like I was curious. I kind of had the same question, J. Mike.
Yeah. So let me ask this to everyone, and to those listening. Please remember, this is something that we do as a hobby. We don't get paid to scout. We are doing the best that we can with what we have. Just trying to be able to help.
Check on Twitter.
we're trying to do the best we can to help obviously give our perspective of what we see, but also to be able to help just give our perspective and let you all know what we're looking at here and what we're trying to break down. So when we look at Trevor Lawrence, I guess some of the questions that I have is just in reference to accuracy, because you have so many instances where he shows such good ball placement in a clean pocket. We see him driving the ball. There's every throw on the field that he can make. We get all of that. My issue becomes in reference to like the quick slants, specifically this season, and these shorter to intermediate passes where I'm seeing him throwing into traffic often. I'm seeing him throw and not complete and not be as clean with these slants, where we're watching other quarterbacks in this class be really proficient in the short to intermediate game. And I didn't see that as much with him this season. Can those, am I tripping or am I bugging when I see or say those inconsistencies? Because I'm watching games against like Syracuse, Wake Forest, Miami, Notre Dame, where he's not as clean underneath. We see him hit a lot of deep balls, but talk to me about what you all see just in terms of his short to intermediate game.
Well, I can't speak eloquently or with great knowledge about a short to intermediate game, but in terms of his flaws, he's tough because Clemson pretty much rolls and kills every team. So there's not a lot of situations where the guy is out there having to, you know, put himself out there and make a play, make a big comeback. I think there was one game this year, maybe it was Boston College or something. Dwight might know better. Where they had to come back and win. So, you know, there's not a lot of tape of him. You know, we're kind of nitpicking, you know, his short intermediate game on slants and stuff. But I have to say, you know, some of these bigger games, the Ohio State game this year, Alabama game or LSU game last year, the time they lost to Alabama. If you put pressure on him, the guy, you know, he's not some like superhero that's gonna come out a winner every time. You know, you know, his offense can stammer, he can make mistakes, he can force a ball, force throws. I think he's a guy that you can definitely scheme against if you have the right people. And he doesn't have a real track record of making massive comebacks like, you know, Peyton Manning managing the game at the end, managing clock, getting the ball down, short, quick throws, making the plays to make the comeback. So I think maybe it's not shortcomings, but there's question marks around Trevor Lawrence, whether or not he can really make that leap into a truly great quarterback when, you know, he has all the physical tools and seemingly the mental makeup to make plays at the highest of collegiate level.
Yeah, Jim, kind of going back to your point on his short throws. You know, I'm not in the depth of the videos that you've seen. I've watched 3 of his games, and like I said before, I think I've seen him at times kind of stare down. He knows that slant is his first option, and he's thrown it because he knows 9 times out of 10, his wide receiver wins that. And so he's thrown it kind of just as a reflex. And I think sometimes that decision-making, I'd prefer him to – obviously, you have snap plays that you're going to hit every time just because your wide receiver is going to win. So, every now and then that's going to fail you. But I did see a couple of shorter throws. ETN, a couple of where are they? The swings out of the backfield where he does miss a couple of those. But, again, I think we are nitpicking. This is a guy that had maybe even 70% completion. I don't know what his completion. I don't have the stats. I guess we created a link, so I could probably click and bring it up. But I think he had statistically his most his best season completing the football to his receivers, and so I think that definitely can be a flaw of his is kind of staring down that receiver or maybe making an anticipation throw that shouldn't be there, but. Yeah, that arm strength. I know we're going to say arm strength a lot, and I kind of want to categorize it when we said Andrew Luck. And I have not been doing this long enough to have known how Andrew Luck was as a prospect. I was not even looking at college tape then. But from the last 3 or 4 years I've done it, this is a guy that just seems to throw that ball effortlessly. Doesn't even need his lower body sometimes. It's I don't want to say like Patrick Mahomes like, 'cause that just opens up a whole can of worms, but he just seems to, Cody's got the eyes, the bug eyes there, the SpongeBob face. But, he just makes some throws that I think I don't see a ton of other guys make. So I think that's where I think he gets some of that best prospect sense, just because I don't know. He's obviously been great on a great team, like we've all said. We haven't seen him had to do a lot of comebacks. So whenever you're on a team like that, you're always going to be hyped up, starting for multiple years. But then on top of that, just the ability to push the ball down the field is really, really good.
Yeah, and like you said, go ahead. Sorry to wait.
I just noticed his career completion percentage is 66.6.
Yikes.
666.
Mark of the devil.
I'm off.
Fade.
And just like that, no longer the 101. And I'll just say this: we were nitpicky, and I asked that being nitpicky, and I just wanted to hear your all's thoughts. But obviously, someone who's driving the ball like nobody's business on deep outs, deep comebacks, someone who's able to hit the go route with ease, the post route with ease, on back shoulder fades. He's nailing Higgins and Ross, and perhaps maybe even a lot of those wins that we saw from him in 2019, where he's just making these highlight play after highlight play. This year, he's throwing to Cornell Powell, who's a good player, but hey, might be undrafted, and Amari Rodgers, who might be a day 3 wide receiver. So all of a sudden, you're not looking at a couple of guys who are first round quality wide receivers. Perhaps that's part of it. But again, you talk about the ultimate fantasy cocktail in mobility, arm strength, accuracy. Lawrence is top of class when it comes to putting everything together, not really being deficient at just about anything, being good to very good at just about everything, which makes him a pretty clean prospect to a lot of folks.
Right.
Yeah, one last thing real quick, because we mentioned the mobility, and I think even for me, I think Justin Fields, who I think we'll probably talk about next or soon, he might profile as the more traditional Konami code QB that you want out there, the Lamars of the world. We are getting that high rushing floor in addition to passing, but Lawrence had 9 touchdowns on the ground his sophomore year, 8 touchdowns this year in a shortened season where he played less games because of COVID as well. He chipped in almost 600 yards on the ground his sophomore year as well. So while he might not be out there, being, Lamar Jackson, the guy certainly is athletic with his legs, and I foresee him utilizing that skill set at the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, for those following along at home, please fill out Konami code on your bingo card that has been marked off of your bingo card.
Well, you got to say it. You got to say it.
Yeah.
Is it really a fantasy podcast and we're talking about quarterbacks if we don't say Konami code?
Correct. Yeah, one could definitely say that I think Lawrence is a better rusher than Fields, but he doesn't fit that profile as well. But man, watching him run, those legs, man, he just like covers a lot of ground very quickly for a really tall, lanky white kid. So, all right, man. So we'll get to wide receiver too, pretty much everybody's. Cody's like, yes, wide receivers. No, quarterback too. All right, Justin Fields. So, all right, who wants to lead off the Justin Fields conversation? Because this one, I feel like could take up a lot of the show if we wanted it to. So, I'll go through the specs real quick. 6'3", 228, great build. Really solid guy. I like his size, everything about him. So, anyways. His college statistics, like we said, he does have a little bit of a rushing, but as a passer, he has been absolutely lethal. 67 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, including 41-3 last year. It was one of the sickest seasons I've ever seen. 5,700 yards. Let me see his rushing. Like Berg just said, Fields had 10 touchdowns rushing last year, 5 this year. Definitely he's not a guy that goes to that rush very often, but when he does, he is a very dangerous runner. He can cover a lot of ground very quickly as well. Very athletic quarterback. What the hell is Berg doing? Anyways, I happen to look up and get distracted by he's filming some sort of a Blair Witch thing. So, anyways, guys, who wants to start off on the Justin Fields conversation? J. Mike, you want to lead us down the path for Justin Fields, or?
I would love to, and I would also like to posit that there is not as big of a gap between Fields and Lawrence as some may have you believe. Fields is a fantastic prospect. Big, strong kid, 6'3", 228. We're talking about very good to elite mobility, very good arm strength. We talk about driving the ball for those deep outs across the field, and we're looking at wide hash marks in the college. I'm seeing this guy put things on a line across the field. He's an outstanding thrower of the football. Similar to Dak Prescott, when we would watch Dak Prescott early in his career in Dallas, very accurate on hitch routes. A lot of the things that come back to the quarterback, not so much of the things that were going a horizontal of the quarterback, or perpendicular, if you will. But that's the thing about Fields, is that he's hitting slants. He's hitting people in zones. He's putting the ball in places to have them continue to make yards after the catch look really good. And I am crazy excited about Justin Fields. His ability to buy time in the pocket with subtle movements and not just look to run or escape when there's pressure. He's someone that I am so incredibly excited about, that if I'm looking at the 102 in my Superflex leagues, I am absolutely thrilled, because I feel like I still hit as big of a home run as a person who had 101 and took Lawrence. So Justin Fields, there are things that I can critique about his game, and maybe we'll talk about it, but I wanted to get all the things that I'm very excited about with his game out first, because he is a fantastic prospect. Hopefully he chooses to declare in the coming days, if that's the case.
Right, as a prospect, this is a lot of people don't know this. As much as Trevor Lawrence was touted, Fields was right there. Like, he was right there with them. I think Rivals or 24/7, one of them had Fields over Trevor Lawrence. I think it was Rivals, but I didn't have that offhand. So but they were both 9 percentile of quarterback. So yeah, I like that, man. Let's see, Robbie, what you got?
Yeah, I love when notes match up, because like Cody had said at the beginning, when you dive to a certain depth of investigating the quarterback, you're kind of like, do I know what I'm doing? Am I doing this correctly? You're kind of questioning yourself. And then J. Mike says, he puts the ball on the line. Oh yeah, I have that. Puts the ball on a rope when he delivers it. It's my first line. Perfect. Okay, I'm doing this correctly. So yeah, man, we like I said, we're going to talk about arm strength a lot, and I think there's different levels. Man, his throwing motion is so quick, and it snaps, and he gets that ball to the guy on a rope. I think that's really just the first thing I see when I watch him play. He knows how to protect. Whenever you're talking about quarterbacks that run a lot, I think knowing how to protect yourself is something that it seems like rookies have to learn when they get to the NFL. It looks like when he runs, he knows how to protect himself. He knows how to get out of harm's way. We've seen how many slides or lack of slides from rookie quarterbacks where they're just getting demolished. Seems like there's always a couple each year. And I feel like he just knows how to get down and protect himself. And then just that again, going back to the deep ball, he can hit the sideline. I think that was the last thing that I had. It was OSU versus Rutgers. Obviously, Rutgers not always the most dominant of opponents, but he was always just hitting these sidelines, especially that right sideline. When he's throwing that right sideline on the comeback routes and on those deep outs, it was magic every single time. I don't know. They could have double teamed the wide receivers. He still would have put it in the only spot that his guys could have gotten it. So, yeah, just adding to some of J. Mike's praises of him. He's exactly that type of fantasy quarterback that you want. And so if you look at you don't have that 101, what does that 102 look like? Or if somebody doesn't need a quarterback and they even go for one of these top wide receivers or running backs and he falls maybe even to 103, I think you're getting a really good player in a class where he would be the 101 in most other classes.
Right. In our chat, actually, J. Mike even said something about was that throw late in the title game where Fields hit Njigba in the corner of that, and they called it back, but holy shit, was that a throw? Crazy. That was a beautiful, beautiful throw. So, David, I'll go to Cody on this. Cody's unmuted, so he's ready. So, what does it do though if Fields goes to the Jets? Like, what is this?
Denzel Mims wheels the fuck up is what it does. Nothing else matters. No, you guys have all touched on the arm strength with him. If we're comparing the top two guys, I do like Fields' ability, like outside of structure on those improvisational plays. I do like those better with Fields than I do Lawrence. The question I have for you, Dwight, you kind of just threw this out there and then just hurry up and switched. You said that you like Lawrence's rushing ability better than Fields, or you think he's better. I would like for you, sir, to expand on that.
No, just if you watch them running Trevor Lawrence, somebody on Twitter said that they thought that Trevor Lawrence had better vision than Travis Etienne, and I'm like, you could almost make a case for that. Like, you watch the kid run up he's really good at sliding through zones and finding holes in the line. Like, when he runs, he's really incredibly effective. It's kind of uncanny, like to watch him run. I imagine that the NFL will be a lot different because 6'6", 220, it's pretty frail. He definitely is a wiry kid. So I don't think he'll be running as much in the NFL, especially if he's the 101, and they're going to be paying him $400 million in 5 years. So I think that rushing ability will be tapered off quite a bit in the NFL. But it's nice to know that it's there if the play breaks down. The biggest thing that you guys have definitely pumped up the praises on Justin Fields. So Berg, I'm going to lead you into this. Like, the biggest detriments and the things that I see, and like what you guys pointed out, was how he extends the plays, but that is also a huge detriment to him. Like, one of the biggest knocks on him has been is he holds the ball way too long, takes way too many sacks, and he takes way too many unnecessary hits because of how long he tries to extend the plays. So I definitely like to see that internal clock get a little bit better for him. And you got to start reading that. So, Berg, what else do you see that you don't like about Justin Fields?
Well, if you watch the Northwestern game, the Big Ten championship game, I mean, the dude was straight up lost at sea. I mean, it took Trey Sermon running for 300 yards for them to come back in that game because Fields was so bad, like straight up bad. So I think you get concerned that at the next level they're going to be able to scheme against him and get him confused and frustrated. And is there a way to unlock what the Northwestern defense unlocked that day in the Big Ten championship game? So I think that is a pretty concerning game. I don't like reading into it and suddenly fading him super hard because obviously it's just one game and things happen. But you do have to wonder what was going on in his head, because it wasn't so much his physical play, it was his mental. He was really he just seemed lost.
And Berg, you have hit the nail on the head when it comes to some of the questions surrounding Justin Fields. How soon can he be more efficient in processing coverages? Right, he'll hold the ball, and a lot of times, and we saw it in two different ways this season. We see the Indiana game where they got after his behind all game long. and try to speed up, and he made poor decisions in those instances. Then we turn around and conversely in the Northwestern game, we see them flood the field with zone and make him try to hit holes in all these other places, and even sometimes in man, but they have a lot of guys in coverage, don't rush a ton of people, and he's still struggling because he's waiting so long and he's not able to process and make these quicker decisions in those moments. And it's inconsistent in times when he's able to do that, because at times he is late on the deep ball, and that does show when he's underthrowing or throwing into traffic. And when he is when he's trying to press to make a play, can he eliminate those forced throws into coverage? Those are definitely some of the questions that I have with Fields, along with, hey, wherever he lands, whether it's with the Jets or whomever else that may be picking near the top, will that offensive coordinator maximize his mobility as a runner? Because he's a truly special runner, different in a different way than Lamar and other guys like that. But he's a big, tough kid who does have some wiggle and is able to make people look really bad in the open field as well. So there are a lot of questions to be had with Justin Fields. But man, that ceiling is something that you dream for in Dynasty.
Yeah, like my biggest knock, and what he answered against Clemson was that killer instinct. You know, I had not seen that in the game before, and boy, it's like when Skowski hit him late and broke his hip basically. Like, you just saw a different Justin Fields take over. You saw the ice in the eyes, the glare, the steel. It was just, that's what I've been wanting to see from him for 2 years at Ohio State. So that was cool to see. I like to see that. And like you guys said, Trevor Lawrence never really had to do that. Not too many times, that's for sure. So, yeah. Other than that, both of these guys are going to be great quarterbacks in the NFL for a long time. I don't think you can nitpick a little bit here and there, but I think they're both going to be in great spots in the NFL. So, anybody else got anything last minute with Mr. Fields? On IT, let's move into what I call the second tier. That's pretty much what it is, guys. This is that's your 1A, your 1B, however you want to do it. So these guys are here. This is my second tier. I'll start out with Zach Wilson from BYU. We'll start there. I was going to go down the list. So he's my number 3, but I have, now that I've gone through all these games and taken him back, I kind of am trying to look at him a little more critical, because I have been riding this Zach Wilson horse like all season, man. I mean, this kid has been just absolutely amazing. So we'll start with Berg this time, since you're out on the West Coast. That's where Mr. Zach Wilson resides, BYU. Berg, you got anything on Zach Wilson, bud?
Yeah, I have one thing down here. He famously went to prom with 2 BYU cheerleaders, which I saw on Twitter, and it made me laugh out loud that was someone's notes. Like, I wish that was like someone's notes on me. Oh, Berger, from Ohio, famously went to prom with 2 cheerleaders. Yeah, I just I haven't watched a ton of Wilson. I'll be transparent like Cody. From what I have seen, he looks like a college quarterback to me. He doesn't. I don't know. He just doesn't do it for me, to be honest.
Berg, you could take 2 Ohio cheerleaders to prom. The Ohio girls, come on now.
Yeah, and also you want to talk about outliers. There's been one quarterback from BYU that has been a franchise QB, right? Steve Young.
Oh, going with the old school narrative there. Okay, Berg telling the story. We see you, Emmy winner.
Did you guys, obviously outside of Dwight, Robbie, J. Mike, did you guys watch any 2019 tape of Zach Wilson in preparation for tonight?
I saw their game against Washington of 2019, so just one game.
Yeah, I was really impressed with how different he really looked from 2019 to 2020. Like, the arm strength looked a lot better. He was making better throws and better reads, and statistically that was also bonkers. He attempted only 17 more passes in his junior season, but completed nearly 50 more passes for 1,300 more yards and 22 more touchdowns, and had 6 fewer picks. So I like the fact that it matched up with seeing the differences in his arm strength from sophomore to junior year. I didn't dig deep enough to see if that was his training different? Was it a coaching change? So I don't really know if there's anything behind that improvement from 2019 to 2020, but I did like seeing that. But the thing that I did not like is his ball placement kind of seems to be all over the place. Like he had like the completion percentage is there, so the quote unquote accuracy is kind of there. But when it comes to his ball placement, it was just kind of all over the place, and he doesn't really seem to play with like too much touch either. Like there was a throw in particular down the right sideline. Dude is wide open. He like tries to put touch on it, and it just falls like 3 yards too short. Like the receiver literally has to stop, go back and get the ball, even though he's wide open. There was no pressure for him. So like those are just some of the things that I nitpicked. And obviously, whenever you're seeing some of the hype of he could be QB2 overall, maybe he's even a dark horse for QB1. I don't get that hype at all. I can't go that far. Like I think he's a fine player. He has to learn how to protect himself better. Kind of seemed like he was like really calm, cool, and collected in the pocket, like almost to a detriment at times. Because like he would move around at some points, and sometimes it was just like the game glitched, and he didn't see that rusher coming, and he would just get hit, fumbles and taking sacks and running 10 yards behind the line and taking a sack then. So I do like him. Kind of has a little bit of that, that moxie. If to throw a cliche on a small white guy, has some moxie. But curious to hear what you guys have to think and kind of where you have him ranked in among these classes.
Well, real quick before we go to Robbie, you do know that Dwight has a Moxon comp on Wilson for your Moxie reference from Varsity Blues.
Yeah. Hey, Robbie, take us to sanity, please.
Yeah. I'll flip the script a little bit. I think we've hit on some of his flaws and kind of going back to the 2019 film. What I thought really improved from 2019, which actually I thought was a pretty good film against Washington, but he was really patient, or he wasn't as patient in that game. I saw him kind of force some balls that should have been picked off. He didn't actually have a lot of interceptions, but he had 2 or 3 that should have been. And then we flipped to the 2020 season, and the 2 games I watched there, he was just very, very patient, chewing up his own. Now, I think that a couple things could come into play. One, the competition that BYU plays. We're not talking about Clemson and Ohio State anymore. I don't know how good his offensive line grades against defensive line. I didn't dig that much into BYU, but he seemed to have a lot of time, and so with a lot of time, obviously you're going to perform better. And he chewed up all types of zone coverage. So I think he definitely excels against seeing the field. Like I think we just finished kind of maybe knocking Justin Fields on vision, maybe progressions a little bit is my knock for Fields. And I think that's on the flip side, something that Zach Wilson actually does really well. He seems to scan the field really quickly. If this guy isn't there, then he'll go to somebody else. Or if he needs to wait for his guy to hit that opening, I think he does a really good job doing that. For a smaller guy, I think he's 6'3", 210, which isn't small, but it's smaller than the previous 2 guys who mentioned. He has an arm. The Coastal game, he has a 60-yard bomb that I don't think it actually was completed, but it was right there, and I just wasn't expecting that. I wasn't ready for him to just launch it with that accuracy, and it was just right outside the guy's outstretched arms. But I do think he moves around good in the pocket. His mobility, again, we talk about what we want in fantasy. The Matt Ryans, they have to be so good at passing to make up for their lack of rushing, right? And so with Zach Wilson, I think that's something that you can get. You can get the yardage on the ground as well. So that's a plus for me. But yeah, it's just a little bit tough to compare the BYU competition. I think one of their tougher games was against Coastal, where he leads them back on this last great game. He leads them back all the way down to the 1, and they end up losing. But yeah, I think he has a lot of fight in him and a lot of drive. So I did like him as a prospect. I have him close to Fields. I probably in that next tier, but I do have him as QB3. So yeah, I'm excited to hear what J. Mike has to say on him.
Yeah, just and I don't want to echo a lot of what you all have said because I feel like we've hit it really well. Mobility, arm strength, deep accuracy. Stop us if you've heard this before. This class at the top is littered with these guys who have again the fantasy cocktail dream there when it comes to when it comes to something that you look forward to, not just to be able to have longevity as a starter, but to give you some of those, okay, can you get me into the top 12 of my league in terms of QBs? Can you get me near the top? Can you bring the rushing ability, the ability to hit these deep balls, and the accuracy that comes along with it to really bring a boost to my fantasy team? Zach Wilson is definitely going to do that for you. While we do sometimes see lackadaisical footwork between him and Fields, just kind of just the set quickness isn't something that they're rushing to get to. Like you said, Robbie, his ability to scan the field, even in the midst of not having the quickest set, still really impressive to be able to see. My hope is somehow, some way he finds himself with a creative offensive coordinator, because I would hate for him to fall into the arms of a Darrell Bevel, to fall into the arms of someone who isn't as creative as we'd hope, and really watch what could be a special talent go to the wayside. I don't have Zach Wilson as my QB3. I will leave you all hanging as far as that goes, but I like his ability. And Cody, I'm so glad that you added context as well in terms of being able to watch him improve from a year ago to what he's become now, because as a 21-year-old, you're really excited to be able to see what can become of a talent of a 21-year-old with all the world ahead of him. So I'm excited to be able to see how he's going to be perceived on draft day, and if he can continue to grow to the player that we like him to be, and hopefully with that step up in competition, he doesn't become someone who falls to the wayside.
Right. My biggest, as a huge supporter of him, my biggest fear is that, that he won't have time to grow because he's not going to start day one. But you guys mentioned Moxie, and that's what I've used 1,000 times describing him. He just plays. He's a football player, and he loves the game. The biggest improvement, like you said, between last year and this year is he's reined in his gunslinger mentality. There's documented stories of him studying like the game, all these big quarterbacks like between last year and this year, he's put in the work. He's very intelligent. One of the biggest knocks that we didn't mention, you kind of mentioned the ball placement, and I've read that he leads his receivers into danger a little bit too much, which I didn't notice as much, but I probably need to just go back and look again. Sometimes when I look, I'm just looking, but I just love the way he plays the game. Like, I want that guy on my team. Like, he's just so much fun to watch, and I think he'll get there, but it's going to take a couple of years, and I hope he lands on a team with creativity that will give him some time. So,
hey, real quick, not knowing anything about draft capital or anything, this is just everyone. One word answer. Who would you rather have on your team at present, on your dynasty teams at present? Tua or Zach Wilson? We'll start with you, Berg.
Tua.
Cody.
Gotta go Tua.
Robbie.
Lefties stick together.
Dwight.
Man.
Dwight.
Tua.
Yeah. Okay. I was curious how far the stock had fallen for Tua with Wilson, so I was just curious kind of where he would land in this class. But anyway,
J-Mac, what's your answer?
Tua for sure.
I wish I had some Zach and debit leagues to trade for Tua.
Yeah, the Tua falling is ridiculous, just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm not giving up on the kid yet. So, anyways, that's a whole.
What was the deal with that whole Instagram post though that he did about "Thank you, Miami"? Was that just like for the season? It really felt like a farewell post. Did anyone catch that? Or is that made up? Or no one knows what I'm talking about? Tua had an Instagram post. All right, we'll move on. We have some breaking news if you guys want to talk about it real quick. Kind of affects players we've talked about.
Sure. What's up? I didn't see
Robert Saleh is going to be the Jets head coach.
Ooh, nice. I like him a lot. I was hoping the Lions would get him, but interesting.
Does Salah automatically become their best defensive player?
And mic drop. All right. I like it. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dive into that. So expected to bring LaFleur with him. Nice.
I am very curious to know who J Mike has as his QB3.
Sure. I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you.
We'll see about it. QB3 for me currently, with the games that we've looked at and whatnot. Likely the most special D-ball player in this group, Trey Lance. Trey Lance is something else. I mean,
Say his name.
You say my man's name, Trey Lance. Was able to watch some games, obviously from 2019, as well as the one game that he had this season against Central Arkansas. You talk about ball placement. You talk about pocket poise and presence. You talk about accuracy short, accuracy long, mobility, arm strength. The kid has a very, very special touch on the ball. You talk about being able to hit pinpoint D balls, being very clean in that instance. Chef's kiss. It's the stuff dreams are made of. I'm a big fan of Trey Lance's now. I could go on and on about and wax poetic about how very good marks that he gets and all of those different things, his field awareness, all those things. I get it. And people have likely heard those things. The question, and it's a huge question, because it's something that could say, okay, you can be as highly taken as QB3 in this group, or you could flame out and be not in the league in 3 years, because we watched you play one good year of football, and it was an outstanding year at North Dakota State. The level of competition is not even of that Zach Wilson's played, right? We want to knock Zach Wilson a little bit for level of competition. We've got to look at Trey Lance and say, okay, just because you beat James Madison in the tournament, and you play the likes of Butler, and looking like a high school team out there, and your offensive line is mowing down everyone. You got a lot of clean pockets, you got a lot of clean looks, you got a lot of clean coverages that you were able to decipher quickly, which is nice. Now, fast forward to 2020, when we watched him in the one game against Central Arkansas, where they gave him all that he wanted. Them boys got after his behind. They rushed him. They sent a lot of bodies at him. We watched him get sacked. We watched him have to run for his life. We watched him be confused. We watched him make some poor throws that we didn't see in 2019, when he boasted a 28-0 ratio of passing touchdowns to interceptions. So the question about the competition is incredibly valid, and it is a question. Is he a one-year wonder? Is he going to be able to show us that 2019 wasn't an anomaly, and that he can walk in the likes of an early career Carson Wentz and really come on and not be afraid, or not be shy away from the major step up in competition that you're about to do? And will you ever learn how to slide and take care of yourself? Because that's something that really bothered me, because as much as you want to be able to pulverize these cornerbacks in your division, like, okay, you're about to deal with some grown men who will eat your lunch if that's the case. But again, we've said it before: arm strength, accuracy, mobility, fantasy cocktail rides again. Shake it up, stir it up, however you want it done. Trey Lance gives you a ceiling that is very beautiful.
Please make sure to tip your bartender on the way out. J Mike, you hit on everything. My questions were the same thing. Level of competition. I'm going to have to watch that Arkansas game, because the games I watched, I did not see him pressure. Like you said, just had the pocket, the thing that I really like about him, he obviously has the athleticism, but like he didn't just go to that first. Like he will again. When I'm watching and I just see his eyes go, left to right, right to left, I take that as he's going through his progressions. Is he? I don't, you know what I mean? I don't really know because, like I said, my depth of knowledge when it comes to breaking down quarterback is minimal. But it seems like he goes through his progressions. He will take the check down. He'll run when it's necessary, but that's not the thing that he's looking to do first. And if you want to talk about tools, man, this guy was so much fun to watch. I really liked him. I'm glad we're on the same page, J. Mike. And I'm curious to hear what everyone else thinks. But I was on the same page as far as my questions with him as well, because just didn't really see him have to deal with pressure, and that's obviously not going to be the case at the next level.
Right. Yeah. There's so much to love. He's got one of the highest upsides in this class just because of all that. But he's also probably got one of the lowest floors because of all that as well, because we haven't seen him. And he's gonna have to land, like J. Mike said with Wilson. He's got to land in the right system. He's got to land somewhere where he can learn. But man, he is just like, just his running ability. I mean, he had 1,100 yards rushing and 1,400 touchdowns. Yes, 14 touchdowns in 2019. And then in this one game you played this year, that rushing was there. Like you saw how exciting it was. It was amazing. But his passing was that, like I said, they pressured him, so they had him a little bit off. His first half was ugly as far as passing. But you take the kid out and tell him he's got one game to play to show everybody what you can do. Like, come on, what kind of pressure is that? I don't care who you're playing. I don't care if you're playing a high school team. That's a lot of pressure to put on a kid. So, yeah, he's got one of the highest upsides. Everything you guys said is exactly what you like about him. The deep ball is beautiful. He's 6'4", 228, but he is built really solidly. Like he's like stout. Like he can take a hit. So, yeah, I like a lot about Trey Lance and just landing spot. This 3 to 5 is going to be really crucial for that. So, Berg, you got anything on?
Sorry, real quick. I would just love to see him land in an offense like what they're doing with Baker in Cleveland, with just like the play action, all those rollouts. He was really good at doing that whenever I was watching. So whenever you were just talking about landing with the right team, and that was something that we saw Lance do that, really we didn't see Fields or Trevor Lawrence do too much. And I was just taking snaps from under center. Doing I think that gets blown out of proportion whenever we're talking about guys going to the next level, because is it really that difficult to stick your hand underneath the center's ass and, take a snap if you practice that enough? Like, is it really that difficult? So I think that gets blown out of proportion, but I like the fact that we don't have to say like, oh, is he going to be able to do it? Because they did plenty of that. And like I said, the play action, the bootleg, get him running on the outside. I would love to see him go to like a play action heavy kind of system.
Got to go to ESPN Plus. You got to go to Detail. You got to turn on Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning will tell you he loves seeing those quarterbacks get under center and take a snap. There's nothing like getting under center and getting the snap, according to the great Peyton Manning.
Let me fill that sack, baby.
Speaking of that show, and that actually will segue to what I would like to say. Watching Detail with Peyton Manning, one of the things he really harps on is the ball fake, and dude has ball fake skills. Probably some of the best of these QBs that I've seen, actually, besides the top two, obviously, who are pretty good. But the guy really sells it. That's something as a viewer of Peyton Manning's Detail I look for now when I watch these guys, and love Lance's ball fakes. That just shows QB acumen to me. It's not the make or break statistic or attribute that that is gonna make me hate or fall in love with someone, but it could kick up my love a little bit, I guess.
Last thing I'll say, I'm glad you brought that up, because the thing that I didn't like is he had that hitch with every single throw. You saw him kind of do the thing where he goes to put in his hand, then he pulls it back. So I just don't know how good he'll be with a really quick, 3-step drop where he has to get it out on a timing route, because he does have that hitch with literally every single throw where he like goes to his hand, then he pulls back, and then he releases. But Dwight, I want to hear, you obviously have him at 5 on this here sheet. I want to hear why you hate him so much and you want him to fail.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Anyways, no, I laughed. No, I don't have him that low, man. Like they've bounced. This 3 to 5 has jostled so much throughout the season. So I like him a lot, man. And it's 3 to 5's landing spots for me. Like all 3 of these guys can be successful if they're put in the right situations. So yeah, I like all 3 of these guys. So all right. And speaking of the third guy,
I got to do one quick thing on Trey Lance. Why he's not number 3 for me is I just think he's kind of raw. We hit on how he only had 1 full season of tape, and when we saw, a little bit better of a competition in Central Arkansas and a little bit in the James Madison, I just saw a lot of things that are definitely fixable, but I think he needs a little bit of time to fix some of these. And Cody, you kind of hit on it. And again, we've said this over and over, like we're not experts at scouting the QB. I didn't play the position personally, but I definitely noticed something with this throwing motion that was just a little bit different. It seemed like it was a little bit longer. You called it kind of a hitch. I saw him kind of drop the arms, but there's just little things I think that can definitely be cleaned up. But I just want to note that his what I would deem it as being raw and having the arm strength, we talk about him being able to take hits. He delivers hits, guys. Like this guy breaks any and every tackle. It seemed like design runs. He was all over the place running it. So I think that was just an amazing strength. But I just some of the things that I think it takes a couple years to develop as being a quarterback and learning the offenses and the defenses. I think that's something that he's a little bit lower for me just due to that reason.
Yeah, he does break a lot of tackles and he does take out, but that's the level of competition though. The guys he was breaking tackles are 100 pounds less than what he's going to be getting in the NFL. So, all right. Damn you guys. You guys you're leading into my next one. My next quarterback. Ready? You guys ready for this? Mac Jones, baby. Mac Jones. Anyways, I can't talk about Mac Jones without singing that song, baby. So all right, I'm the only one. But anyways, all right, Mac Jones, the statuesque quarterback for Alabama. I can't believe he's only 6'3", 214 pounds. I mean, the guy on TV, like I was watching the game Monday night, he looks like he's like 6'6", 240. Like he looks tall and big. So anyways, this year he had just a phenomenal year. Threw for 4,500 yards, 41 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Of course, he was throwing to the best receiver in college football. But let me see what I have on Mac Jones. I'll give you guys a real quick look here. He's got good poise, leadership, throws an amazing deep ball. Definitely a pocket passer. He does not move a whole lot, but has not faced a ton of pressure as well. So there are definitely some things that I worry about him. The level he does play the bigger level of competition, but he's also throwing to some of the best weapons there are in college football with the best running back. You guys got to shut up in the chat. All right. Anyways, apparently Cody wants to talk. So Cody, what is your take on Mac Jones, smartass?
The Greek god, the chiseled human being himself. No, I think he's Kirk Cousins at best, which has been fine for fantasy purposes, but I just don't get the hype on him being like I would probably have him at like 5 or 6, to be honest. Like I just don't think he really does anything like that special. Like maybe I'm letting Berg's hate just shape my opinion a little too much because Berg has been the anti-Mac Jones for a while now, and anytime anyone says anything positive about him, Berg is jumping into the chat and just saying no, that's going to stop right here. But I don't know, man. I just don't get it with him. I don't think he does anything that's honestly that special. There's been a lot of chatter. I am from Pittsburgh, so obviously the hometown team, there's been a lot of chatter, especially after this last playoff game where they just got fucking trounced, that, the Steelers could be looking at Mac Jones in the first. I would rather take I don't like if Trask falls to the second, like I'd rather take Trask. I'd rather take a shot on somebody like that than Mac Jones in the first. I don't know, man. I just, maybe I'm knocking him too, because whenever you're surrounded by literally everybody is 5 stars, like I think that might help just a smidge.
I think this is one of the more confusing quarterbacks to grade in the class. I mean, we talked about questions with all of these guys and level of competition and all that, but this is almost the inverse, right? Where you're surrounded by so much talent that how do you grade him knowing all he has around him? I think that's the big question. And that's not breaking news. I think that's going to be the conversation we'll see on Twitter here for the next months, years, who knows. But he is all throttle, man. Like when this guy is going, he is all throttle, little finesse. He just goes and fires, man. And I think that's what made this offense so exciting is that he just makes dynamic play after dynamic play, just driving it all over the field and letting his playmakers play. He just does, like you said, Berg. Not Berg, but Cody. I don't know if he does anything amazing, but he does all the simple things really well, which made him the perfect quarterback for this system, that he didn't need to do all of that. So that's why it's tough to judge. Like if he needs to do that, can he do it? I don't really know, but he did a really good job of just keeping his eyes downfield because he knew he had a good line. He did a good thing getting his dump offs to Najee. How many great pass catches did we see from Najee in the last handful of games here in the college playoffs where he took it to the house? So yeah, he does a lot of things well. I think he fits the ball into tight windows really well because he knows his receivers are going to get it. When he doesn't have all of that talent around him and he's facing NFL talent, does that stack? I don't know. He's one of the bigger question marks for me. He could go all the way up to like a QB3, or he could be all the way down to maybe QB6. I don't really know. Right now he's kind of in the middle there. So I'll keep it short and let someone else keep going.
I'll be brief. And Berg, I know we laughed before about you hating on Mac Jones' ADOT. Just going back and watching, because I watched a ton of Trevor Lawrence. If you hate Mac Jones' ADOT, you have to also hate Trevor Lawrence's ADOT. You talk about passes within 5 yards from the line of scrimmage. Oh my gosh, it's just funny. But the beauty of Mac Jones, and this, like you said, when we're trying to parse through all this, the play caller, the weapons that he has, all these different things, the beauty of him is that as a decision maker, as someone who will make good choices in the pocket, he's as good as anybody in the class. He's not someone who's going to put your offense in harm's way. The problem becomes specifically for fantasy is, what is the ceiling if you take Mac Jones? You have to have a lot of things go right for Mac Jones because of his lack of mobility. A lot of things have to go right for him to be one of the difference makers in fantasy. It's really nice because somebody said Kirk Cousins. Yeah, he could settle into a nice little Kirk Cousins and give you a couple of weeks where he's QB8, QB7. But majority of the time, you're looking at QB18 or QB19 if he's not surrounded with a group. Like let's say Mac Jones ends up in Denver. All of a sudden, I'm really excited. Like, that's awesome because you're looking at Noah Fant. You're looking at Jerry Jeudy. You're looking at Cortland Sutton. You're looking at weapons galore for him to just be able to get rid of the ball, let these guys do work, and he's going to get them the ball in a position to be able to make plays consistently. The question is the mobility. He doesn't offer you the Konami code. Ring it up. There it is. He doesn't offer you the same cocktail that we get from the other guys, but that's what makes him intriguing, is if he gets in one of those places where he can be cultivated and be surrounded with an immense amount of talent. That's when it gets really interesting for Mac Jones as a prospect.
Yeah, I definitely think you want to get this guy in a place where there's a lot of weapons. But I've already been mentioned twice as the number one Mac Jones hater so far, and so I will let my hate flow. The guy throws nothing but 10 yards and under, and why not? That's what I would do. I mean, he's throwing to like some of the to the single greatest wide receiver season of all time in college football, which he was a quarterback. So, hey, He did help make it happen. Najee Harris is literally a god among men out there in every game. I mean, literally, it's like it's an NFL team playing against a college team week in and week out with this team. They won 11 SEC games. These guys are going to litter the draft. It's going to be crazy. So I don't know. I have to say, though, in preparation for tonight, Mac Jones has won me back a little bit, especially after the national title game where he was kind of making me eat my words by airing it out a little bit. And I have seen some other pretty freaking nice deep throws by Mac Jones. Plus, I found these stats which speak to the fact that he's like a outlet passer. His 77.4% completion rate tops the previous NCAA single season record of 76.7 set by Colt McCoy in 2008 out of Texas. Meanwhile, Jones 203.06 passer efficiency rating passed the NCAA single season record set last year by Mr. Burrow at 201.96. I mean, Joe Burrow was pretty good. Colt McCoy, hey, he played in the league this year. And then he's also having a season for the ages. Top player seasons total quarterback rating here, QBR, since at least 2004. Mac Jones topped the list. Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Tua Justin Fields, Russell, Andrew Luck, Kyle Trask, Tua, Baker. That's the top 10 in QBR since 2004. Pretty nice company to be in going into the draft.
Right. Yeah, these are the 5 guys I think that will go in the first round, and yeah. Say what you want.
Think they're all going that high?
Yeah, I don't see in this league. Yeah. I mean, that's just, you can think about the quarterbacks that I don't have a list right now, but there are several quarterbacks that I think that teams are going to want to replace that. Yeah. I mean, shoot, drawing a blank. This exercise
you got the first 2, you got the Patriots potentially.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Patriots.
Yeah. The thirst will be real for quarterbacks. So the question becomes, how desperate do the teams up top make those teams that do need to or feel like they need to come up?
Right.
Well, it's so crazy too because I feel like last year I was looking at like who's going to draft Fields and Lawrence, and I was like, wow, it seems like a lot of teams are really set at quarterback. And then cut to a year later, it's like, man, half the league needs a quarterback. It changes so quickly. It's so crazy.
Right. And the last of like the big 6, I guess, is what they've gone by for a while. Though Trask is really taking quite a hit lately. Is Kyle Trask in Florida, 6'5", 240, had a hell of a good season. Threw for 4,200 yards, 43 touchdowns, 8 picks, and then just kind of a lot of his deficiencies came rearing its ugly head in the bowl game. Although he was missing his top 4 targets. But things I have about Trask are he has good footwork, pretty good under pressure. He's accurate, has good ball placement, but he just doesn't have that much of a deep, an arm. Honestly, he's got a decent arm, but he can't make a lot of NFL type throws. His mechanics are a little, not the greatest. Doesn't really throw a good deep ball, So if you want somebody that can complete a whole bunch of passes under 20 yards, that's Kyle Trask, and I do think that he's capable of possibly being an NFL quarterback. But I don't know, man. It's going to take some coaching. There are certain things. He's another guy who made a huge jump from 2019 to 2020. So just night and day difference. So what do you guys think on Trask? I'm kind of curious. Is there any hope for him in the NFL?
I'll jump in real quick, Dwight, just because I think that you've pushed me to have to go back and watch some more Trask. He's one of the few that I haven't gotten a ton of time in terms of eyes on. But in the times that I saw him, I did see the ability to put a lot of nice touch on deep balls. And yes, it's Kadarius Toney making these plays. Yes, it's Kyle Pitts making these plays. So a couple of guys who are best in class at what they do. But the I have questions with Trask regarding his mobility, regarding how special can he be? Because the ball that he throws, oftentimes he exhibits a lot of nice touch, and I don't know the arm strength. I think it's good. I don't think it's special. I don't think it's with the other guys in this class that we really get excited about. But I think that Trask is a pretty good playmaker who showed incredibly well this season. And again, if he's surrounded with talent, I think that he's who can make put his receivers, put his playmakers in position to do great things. So I think I need more. I think I need more watches for Trask. I like what he's able to do with ball placement and specifically his accuracy short. I think there's more to be desired in other areas, though. I'm curious to dig in a little bit more to see that.
Hey, Cody mentioned Pittsburgh, and I would love him in Pittsburgh. Like if he fell to the second round, and was able to sit. I don't know if you guys can tolerate another year of Big Ben or not, but that's I think a pretty good spot for him. What do you think, Cody?
Yeah, my big takeaways, J. Mike touched on a little bit, was that Pitts and Tony are #good. That was my big takeaways when I was watching him. But other than like Dwight, you touched on it a little bit, like his arm strength. Like it just seemed like he was like lackadaisical with his throws. Like he just kind of like, even ones like over the middle to his checkdowns, he was kind of just like tossing them over the middle. Like he didn't drive any balls. Like it didn't really seem like that there was like urgency. But then he would have some of these throws between two defenders, tossing it up just over, that first defender, right underneath the second safety that's coming down over top. It's like, oh, holy shit. Like I sent a clip to you guys in the chat right before this, and it was like on the sideline, perfect placement. It was just like, oh shit, that was really good. And then you just see these other ones where he just has like, he just doesn't have the velocity behind it. And I think Deshaun Watson kind of showed us that isn't the end all be all when it comes to, production at the quarterback position at the next level. But there were just a bunch of inconsistencies. Like he has those plays where like he has some really nice touch and ball placement. Then he has some ones where he just like seems like he almost like doesn't care, like kind of just stands there. And then like I said, I don't really know anything about the mechanics, but sometimes it just seems like he is just like all over the place. Like you'll see him set, and then if he has to move, like his like hips just completely pop open, like his feet are pointing two different directions, like they're at fucking 5 and 9 on the clock. Like it was just like weird to watch, especially out of structure, and if his first read wasn't open. But is that something that can get fixed? That's where my kind of knowledge falls short. Like I don't know exactly like, oh, okay, he could work on that if he does this, or that could be fixed. But like I said, it was just a little inconsistent, but like some of his like good throws were like holy shit good throws, and then some of the other ones were just like, do you even care? Like you realize this is like an actual game, right? Like just like floating balls left, right, over the middle. So I don't know. Curious to hear what you guys think on him.
I can go next if you want. I actually watched a lot of Trask today. And I came away feeling relatively positive about him. I mean, he's definitely a pocket passer. He has pocket presence, but that was also mostly because he had a pocket at Florida. He didn't seem to be pressured all that much. But when he was, he knew how to move around in it and get up, make a throw. He didn't seem flustered. He seemed to know where he was on the field, which I like. I don't think he's the most accurate passer, but I think he has touch, to be honest. A few throws in the Mississippi game, he's a bit pressured, or he had to throw it off his back foot, and he landed it to the right spot. I mean, accuracy, I think, is definitely an issue, but what I do like about him is he seems to get the ball to his, as you guys have mentioned, super skill players in Pitts and Tony. I kind of feel the opposite of Mac Jones with him, in that with Mac Jones, it felt like the system was providing the opportunity to get it to these guys, while Trask was like finding ways to get it to his playmakers and taking advantage of who he had on the field. I'd say I'm not in love with his ball fakes. As I mentioned, the ball fakes, not to harp on that. Having watched a lot of the detail, his ball fakes are a bit lackadaisical too. But I will say that's because the guy's running play action nonstop. I mean, almost all game. So I actually think that is a bit of a feather in his cap at the next level. Someone who knows how to run an offense, running a lot of play action. NFL, I think, is moving towards that. So someone who's comfortable and already has those mechanics in place, I think that that's going to be a positive for NFL scouts. And I would say landing spot is a big thing for him too. Someone that, would actually want to take the time to develop him and has an offense that utilizes the things that he does best. And in terms of his passes, what I noticed is he really worked the sidelines. I felt like he mostly throws to the sidelines or the seams. Those seem to be his best throws. I wouldn't say his deep ball is a work of art or anything, but he was capable of getting it to people. I feel like he had a nice change of pace. Someone mentioned him lofting a ball. That's because I noticed he had some nice loft to receivers in terms of timing and having a big play with that. So Trask, I think, is a guy that probably from what you guys have mentioned before in terms of some of his negatives, probably needs some work, but I think he has potential.
Yeah, going forth, I'm going to try not to repeat everything that's been said, but Berg, you hit it right. I said with Mac Jones, he's like that. He's just firing it in, and Kyle Trask is finesse. I saw a lot of touch passes, timing passes, dropping it over. Like his go-to is the back shoulder fade. Like he was hitting those a lot in the games that I saw. It's almost like, I don't know if you guys are gamers still and play Madden, but in Madden you can scout the rookies that are coming up, and when you do the first scout, it shows their throw power, right? And everybody's throw power is A or A minus, and then you're like, okay, let's hope they can just have a B or a C plus throw accuracy, right? Accuracy is normally everything that you need to work on. He's the flip side. Like his accuracy, I think, is really good, short, intermediate. It's just that arm, like Dwight said at the beginning, I don't think it's an NFL arm, and that's what worries me. I think that really caps his ceiling, but he makes a lot of nice throws, a lot of good throws, and I think we've seen that from a lot of college quarterbacks, that sometimes it just doesn't transition to NFL success. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but this is a guy that I think once the combine goes and they're all starting to look at a lot of these measurable things, I think maybe he drops a little bit. Whether that's fair or not, I'm not sure if he goes as early as we might have thought when we looked at the season and saw how well he was performing with Florida during the season when he had those great talents around him. So he does some really, really good things really, really well. Love some of his touch throws. I think that's one of his best attributes. Like we said, though, he's not a big mover, not going to get you a lot on the ground, and then the arm limitations really scares me off him. I actually have him as QB7 right now before we hear about landing spots.
I will say they did call a few design runs for him, but I only think he had 2 touchdowns or so on the year on the ground. But I was a little surprised. That's my alarm going off to make sure I check my dispersal in Auction Addicts.
Throwback to Kamikaze. I had an alarm go off in the middle of class. I was in first year of Masters when we did our Kamikaze auction, and I had an alarm go off in my night class. So that's a little throwback.
You got to get those auction bids in, man. I don't know what I'm saying.
All right, guys, we're gonna get through these last couple names here. Just a couple other names that that's the top 6. I mean, that's the guys that are. Although Robbie just said Trask was 7. So, anyways, these are other guys that have a shot. Like guys that could potentially be NFL backups at least, I guess. A big name going into the season was Jamie Newman, who transferred to Georgia, and we kind of expected some things from him at Wake Forest last year. He threw for 2,800 yards with 26 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, and we saw some things that we liked. And then he goes to Georgia in a situation where he can be facing SEC defenses, and he decides to sit the whole damn year. So, just for that, I don't want him. Like, what the hell? Like, why would you not? Why would you do that? Anyways, things I do love about him: his size, mobility. He is fairly accurate and has great anticipation, but he's really not good at reading defenses and progressing through his reads. I really wanted to see more from Jamie Newman this year. I think everybody did that. He was in some people's top 5, and then he just sits out the whole year. Anyways, so has anybody got anything on Mr. Newman there? Newman?
Not a ton. I really wish he would have played, but everybody's kind of doing their own thing, looking out for the safety of themselves. So no ill will, I guess, from a real standpoint, from a fantasy standpoint. I wish I could have seen maybe that next progression, because I saw some inaccuracies that I wanted to see fixed once he had his senior year. So didn't really see that. He kind of fell, like you said, from a lot of boards. So unsure, I guess, just big question mark right now.
Right. His numbers were definitely elevated by having Sage Surratt to the road too. I mean, Surratt bailed him out on many throws. So I don't know, just a name that will probably he'll probably get drafted day 3, but I don't know. I don't have a whole lot of hope in him. So another guy that surprisingly declared was Davis Mills from Stanford, who has a pretty damn good arm, like an NFL quality arm. He drives the ball downfield. He goes through progressions, but only when he has a clean pocket. I mean, when he has to move at all, like his consistency just goes way out in the middle of nowhere. So I was really surprised that he came out early and decided to go into the draft. So I don't know if you guys have anything on Mills at all, or like he's a project guy. He's got a great arm, but we just needed to see more. So. Cody? No, I'm just kidding.
I do not, Dwight. I'm sorry.
All right. I'm just going to keep going then. All right. Again, a name that you guys should have something on, actually. Everybody has seen Sam Ehlinger. All right. So we'll talk a little bit about Cody, whatever. You've seen Sam Ehlinger. He started at Texas for the last 9 seasons. So anyways, he's got he's a very good college quarterback. I mean, they called him Texas Tebow. He's got this crazy throwing motion. He runs the ball. He's incredibly dangerous running the ball, incredibly dangerous throwing on the run. But his consistency, as you go through the levels of the field, is just like it's good within 10 yards. Then his consistency as it goes farther it gets worse. So just very inconsistent guy. Had those gaudy stats running that Texas offense, but just another guy who's possibly be a project. I mean, I could see him bouncing around the NFL for a few years. So J-Mike can't stand Ehlinger. Come on. Yeah. He's a college guy. He's a college quarterback.
That I know this is Berg's man's, so I don't want to slander him too badly, but I am so far out on Sam Ehlinger. This is a Men Are From Mars. This is from J. Mike is from Mars. Ehlinger is from Venus. I could not be more out on Sam Ehlinger. And Berg, I know this is your man, so this is the floor is absolutely yours here.
I mean, I just anytime I ever watched him play, I thought he was fun and he put points on the board. I mean, I don't know. I just feel like he's got a little something in his game that translates to the next level, and that's just being a winner. No, I don't know. He's definitely didn't win that much Texas, but he was able to put points on the board. I always liked him. I don't know. He always seemed to be in games that were high scoring. He also went to the same high school as Drew Brees. So I'm gonna ride that narrative into the sunset. I think that though, for real, I talked about this with someone else. What if the Saints drafted him in like the 6th round?
Oh, God.
Taysom Hill. It would be one of the biggest waste of a pick. Oh my God! No, I'm just kidding. My issue with Sam Ehlinger is it is very difficult for me to trust any quarterback who struggles with accuracy to be able to do well at the next level. Playmaker, yes. Fun to watch run the ball, yes. Cool to watch him truck people, yes. Competitor, winner, gritty, gutsy, all the words that you like. I mean, those things are fun, but he's not accurate with the ball at any level, and that was Texas's biggest detriment on the offensive side of the ball, and that will be any detriment to the team that takes him if they so choose to take him, and that's my issue with Ehlinger, and it's a big issue, but. I'm not trying to slander the man. I'm not trying to slander what he did at Texas or his career at all. Just a matter of that. That's all.
Do you think so Fromm went 7th round last year?
Something like that.
Yeah. I mean, Ehlinger can go undrafted.
Yeah, Fromm was 5th.
5th round, okay.
Yeah, he was right after. I think it went Eason in the 4th, and then Fromm was next in the 5th.
I feel like Fromm profiled better for the pros than Ehlinger, so I think my boy has a bit of a issue getting into the league.
I think you kind of hit on something that I wanted to talk about because Dwight brought it up at the beginning of landing spots for QBs. I don't think there's as many openings as it might feel like, and I think this might push QBs down a little bit further, maybe especially because some of these quarterbacks didn't play this past season, and there's still kind of maybe a question mark out there. But kind of just going through the teams, we feel like the Jags and the Jets are probably going to take our top 2 guys with the top 2 picks. The next team that I came up that probably for sure needs a quarterback is the Patriots, and then I got down to the Washington football team is that 4th team that's probably going to need to take a quarterback early. There were some other ones with the Bears, Colts, Vikings, and Panthers where they maybe could, but I just didn't feel like there was a ton of QB holes that we see in other years, where maybe this is the year where only 3, maybe 4 guys go in the first, and some of the rest of these guys are pushed down a little bit more, which I don't know exactly what that does for our super flex drafts, but I know draft capital is obviously a big piece of that, but I was just curious on your guys' thoughts if you thought more teams or less teams or just what you thought on some of these landing spots and potential openings.
I mean, everybody seems to think the 49ers are going to get one, like even though they still have Jimmy G.
I like Trask to San Fran.
Yeah, I want Zach or Trey.
I want Zach Wilson with the 49ers. I think that would be very exciting. But if they did, I don't know if the 49ers take a quarterback in the first. They could, obviously. There's some teams like the Bears, Colts, Vikings, Panthers where I think they have a need, but I don't know if it's a first round quarterback need as opposed to those first handful of teams that I named.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the questions is what are these teams going to do to get under the cap that they're saying is going to be shrinking, right? So what strategies are they going to take? Are they going to be okay paying these quote unquote mediocre quarterbacks all of these dollars that they're currently paying them, right? So even the likes of Carson Wentz, Jimmy G, the older guys, are they coming back? Does Drew Brees come back? Does Ben Roethlisberger come back? Does Tom Brady come back? And up and down the line, all these guys. Is the quarterback position, which you can obviously save a ton of cap on with if you've got all these guys that you like in the class, why would you not make it a point to go and get them with an earlier pick to help your team with where you're struggling in this economy? So I'm curious what strategy they take with that, because I'm with you, Robbie. On the surface, doesn't necessarily seem like there's a ton, but I could see a lot of folks feeling and getting really desperate to be able to help shrink, with shrinkage there, I guess, with a lack of a better word there.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good name there with Carson Wentz, because if we see him leave town, I think that's another QB opening that slams shut. Does Jameis Winston get a job? I think there's a couple other spots that there might be starters that currently aren't starters on teams. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe this class is another 5 QBs in the top 15 picks. We'll see. But it just seems like there's not quite as many openings. But
I think the good thing for fantasy gamers is that even if you're not exactly a scout like us, the sharpest of the sharp, you can let draft capital and landing spot be a bit of a guide, even if you don't know a ton about the player or the prospect. If you're just taking first overall by the Jacksonville Jaguars, you can safely take that player first as well. And I think that'll help shake out some of these guys as well in terms of where you're taking them in your rookie drafts, which is what this is all about.
That's honestly been my approach the past couple of years with playing Dynasty, is just letting draft capital and then reading what everyone else is saying about like the coaching staffs around them. And that's really how I've just kind of let, in terms of like looking at the quarterback position, that's literally what I've gone by. This is the first I tried to get out of this one, like I said at the top. This is literally the first time I have spent any time really watching college quarterbacks. I've just gone the draft capital and what smarter people are saying about the coaching staffs in place to kind of guide my quote unquote rankings of the quarterbacks.
It's fair enough, man. Fair enough. Yeah, the only two names that are any bit interested in is Brady White from Memphis. I mean, but J. Mike, you've had the chance to watch him for a couple of years. He's a good college quarterback, kind of in a really good system there where they don't ask him to throw the ball a whole lot, like deep down the field. Like they don't make a lot of NFL throws. They do a lot of slants and screen passes and things like that. But he's put up some gaudy numbers there. He can move around, read zone defense as well. And Ian Book from Notre Dame will probably end up being drafted, although I think he's just a mobile guy who doesn't really do anything for me from a throwing standpoint. So those are the only two guys that I'm really generally at all interested in, that I might stash on a bench just for like a spot start here and there type of thing. So I don't know if you guys got anything on those two guys before we wrap this sucker up.
Negatory.
Yeah, I will posit this as we head into this draft season and all the news that will fly around inevitably. I just want to encourage people who are listening to make sure, please make for certain that specifically in your Superflex leagues, feel free to take stabs on any of these guys that may be going late or going to these situations that are really weird. So let's say that a Brady White somehow finds his way in Washington. Definitely take a fly on him, even if they didn't take him into like the 6th round or if he was undrafted. These ambiguous situations at quarterbacks can find you hitting the jackpot with, okay, Jalen Hurts went in the 2nd round, but nobody thought that Jalen Hurts would hit the field unless Carson Wentz ended up getting hurt again. And it didn't even necessarily take Carson Wentz getting hurt for Hurts to see the field. And obviously shake the entire apple cart to what the Eagles may be doing moving forward. So these guys that we aren't necessarily so super excited about or not the most ballyhooed, keep an eye on these guys later in your Superflex drafts because people will inevitably think that they're trash or they're not good or whatever. You can strike gold and all of a sudden your 3rd round Jalen Hurts that you took now becomes a value of a 1st plus in your Superflex league. So I want to make sure that people are mindful of that moving forward.
And the depth is always, like we saw John Wolford start games this year. I mean, I saw people starting him in their championship games because they didn't have options, like it's, you can almost never have enough quarterbacks. So I think all 11 of those guys that we mentioned are they have a shot. So just curious, Robbie, who's your quarterback 6? You said you had Trask at 7. So I was curious.
Yeah, I've only watched 7 QBs to a point where I feel like I can rank them. And I did look at Ellinger and I had him over Trask just based on arm talent. I think that's just a big knock for me. When I think of somebody who doesn't quite have the arm talent but has the brains and has the accuracy, I kind of think Case Keenum, which I don't think Kyle Trask is at all, but that type of a player. And I just think there's a really low ceiling there. So he's just 7 for me right now. But like you said, landing spots will affect a lot of these guys because who do they surround themselves with? How can they fix what's fixable? I think are really big things as well. So they're both in a tier 3 for me. So I guess it really doesn't matter if it's 6 or 7. They're in a tier below these other guys. So
Makes sense. Okay. All right, Cody. You want to tell everybody what you're working on? What do you guys got going on at TFA right now, man? Let us know.
Typically I focus on the redraft stuff during the season. Robbie and Tom have been holding down the dynasty side, but now that redraft is over, it is all hands on deck with the rookie and dynasty stuff. So we're going to be doing a lot on that. We have a YouTube channel, which, by the way, I went to find some Jamie Newman film. I went to this YouTube channel called Devi Manual, tried to find the Jamie Newman film, and I came up empty. I did try and do some work on these bottom guys right before the pod, but there was no Jamie Newman film on the Devi Manual YouTube channel.
Spark Notes came up blank on the last minute homework. No Spark Notes available.
Tried typing into Google, write my essay for me, and nothing came up. So I had to hand the blank sheet to the teacher and just wipe some skid marks on it and say that my kid pooped on it. But no, just a bunch of. We're really focusing on the YouTube side of things and the podcast. So you can just search the Fantasy Authority on both of those things, and hopefully we see some of you guys soon.
All right, Robbie.
Yep, just doing some of those videos. Tom and I have a Dynasty 101 series. This is the time of year where a lot of people are trying to check out Dynasty. I remember this was me 4 years ago. Like, what the heck is this Dynasty thing? You can go even further in rosters. I can know who these deeper players are. So it's exciting, especially when you're first time diving in, and it's just trying to give people kind of the 101 of how to get started in it. So that's exciting. And just getting ready for the rookie draft. I feel like we have created this our Voxer chat and the scouts. And when did we change it over from 2020 to 2021? I think it was right after the NFL draft. So it's been a long time coming, and we're still a couple months out, but continuing to dive into these guys, for my leagues and for these conversations. I'm looking forward to our running backs and wide receivers talk, and you guys will get a little bit more excited. I feel like I was the only one excited about tight end last year. I think we'll get a little bit more excitement this year from everybody else.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Brevin Jordan. What?
What you got, Burger? What you working on, bud?
I have a show premiering February 12th on FX. Hip Hop Uncovered. It's the story of hip hop. What more do you need? Boom. 6-part doc series. Should be good. We have interviews with Dr. Dre. Pretty big. Ice-T. Pretty big. And many more. It's pretty amazing to be a part of it. I think it's going to do well, and I'm excited for everyone to check it out. And then I've been working on another show that will hopefully sell, but it's not quite there yet. But I'm excited to talk rookies with you guys. I think for me, I like the guys. I like finding the nuggets, the diamonds, and it's tough to find a diamond in the NFL in the quarterback position because, quite frankly, they don't happen that much. They're pretty exposed. They're drafted in the first round. So I think as we go on here, we're going to be a little bit more back and forth, and a little bit more excited, and a little bit more stands on some of these guys. I think that the quarterbacks. The tiers are pretty well set, and there's a little bit of jockeying for the second tier, but draft day is going to really kind of dictate where these guys go in your rookie drafts.
Well, hell, we're all promoting like nerdy football stuff, and Berg comes on there, and I'm talking to Dr. Dre. Like, I didn't realize we were promoting our TV shows. I have the history of Magic the Gathering coming up on history. I don't know, whatever.
I'm really curious to see how Ice-T, the guy from SVU, fits into hip hop. I'm curious to find out hear that story.
He has an interesting trajectory, that's for sure. Holy smokes!
Yeah, it's all about it's all about that, man. Tune in to find out.
Hey, J Mike, what you got, bud?
I'm on Twitter at JMikeCheck, at JMIC Check. Just grateful for this time back with you guys. Truly, my friends, people that we've been doing life with. Robbie was talking about how you start dynasty leagues, and I remember all of us just trying to figure things out. In Kamikaze, just what was it, 4 or 5 years ago now? And you look up in time flies, and you're doing podcasts and doing life with people and sharing weddings and children and all of our lives. It's crazy, life and death and all sorts of craziness. So it's really cool to be able to do this with you all. The Open Bar Podcast, live on Tuesdays. Got the dummies over with the folks at the EFPN, the network, with Dynasty Dummies, and J Mike's Journal as well, which I'm gonna be jumping back into ideally here shortly. I've started it, haven't finished my latest entry, but got that started. So trying to do some different things here in 2021, trying to keep my head above the craziness and trying to make sure that I can encourage folks like I'm built to do. So that's what I'm into right now.
Nice. Glad to hear that's coming back, man. It's been a little bit of a hiatus there. So
Yeah, shout out to Open Bar too. Everyone needs to be watching that.
yes, definitely. I don't know anybody who's not. So yeah. Between their premiering their WAT videos and their all kinds of crazy stuff that the guys at the Open Bar do. So, all right, guys, you can find me on Twitter, FF People's Champ. The Debbie Manual YouTube channel is only me, and I still do videos for the nerds, so I probably don't have as many guys on there as you want, but I just started a couple playlists of 2021 prospects, so hopefully I'll start adding more on there, and a lot of my cut-ups are at the nerds, too. So, yeah, that's it, guys, and this is the Scouts Quarterback Summit Roundtable. We'll be back here in a couple weeks with some running backs, wide receivers. Who knows what channel will come on next? We may come on the Oprah channel at one point. Who knows? Who knows where our podcast is going to pop up? So, all right. This is Scouts. Scouts out, baby.